War is hell. We've all heard the harrowing stories of the Battle of Stalingrad, Berlin and Leningrad. But what if I told you that there's a battle that you've not heard of that is one of the deadliest battles in history? If you compare it to the amount of soldiers who fought, so ended in a casualty rate of around 99%. Blar léine, or in English, the Battle of the Shirts. The year is 1544, in the summer months of July, and the Highland clans are being Highland clans and arguing over some petty dumb shit. The chiefship of Clan MacDonald of Clanranald was in dispute. Clanranald was one of the most powerful branches of Clan MacDonald. Hugh Fraser, the 3rd Lord Lovat, chief of Clan Fraser of Lovat, was the uncle of one of the warring claimants, ranald galda, who was the pretender to the chiefdom of Clanranald, and he was supported by the Frasers and Camerons. Lovat, with over 300 of his best men from Clan Fraser and Clan Macintosh, joined up with the Earl of Huntly, chief of Clan Gordon, who was the Lieutenant of the North. Their mission was to crush the Clan MacDonalds and the Clan Camerons and make Ranald the chief over the rival claimant of John Moidart. The combined Fraser and Gordon force marched to Inverlochy and Loch and they successfully established Ranald's control over Moidart by taking Castle Teorum. On the 15th of July in 1544, it was theorised that it was an extremely hot day. Now, you might be asking, Lugs, why are you mentioning this? And to that I have to say, shut up, what have I told you about interrupting me? The battle's name likely comes from the fact that many of the warriors fought without armour, wearing only their shirts. However, some historians suggest that the name comes from blar léine, meaning swampy meadow. So, these Highlander soldiers have no armour and are known to have a no surrender mentality. I think you know where this is going. The Earl of Huntly decided to split his forces from the Frasers and return to his own land with a job well done. With the lads on tour expedition being cut short, Fraser, Lord Lovat, led his men up the Great Glen towards Glen Moriston. This decision to divide their forces for the return leg of the journey might have indicated that Lovat and Huntly assumed that the MacDonalds were no longer a threat. But the invaders were wrong. The MacDonalds and Camerons had been stalking the invaders, but held back from engaging due to the fact that they were numerically inferior. But now, with Huntly's men gone, the numerically disadvantage of 500 MacDonalds and Camerons was now an advantage because the Frasers only had 300 men. So, with Huntly's men now gone, the MacDonalds, under the command of John Moidart, swiftly outflanked and ambushed the unsuspecting Frasers on an area of wild marshland to the north of Loch Lochy. The Frasers were outnumbered, and the terrain was swampy and treacherous. It would have been almost impossible to safely withdraw without suffering high casualties. Lovat might have had a chance to escape if he had fought a rearguard action, but instead he led his men into a pitched battle, almost certainly dooming them. But hey, based, I guess. Both sides would begin to fire volleys of arrows at one another, and then in the mix of the fighting, fierce and brutal hand-to-hand fighting, and the soldiers were mostly armed with battle axes and claymores. Some men tried to flee, they all drowned. The bloodshed was so intense that it is said that the streams running to the lochs were stained red for days with blood. At the end of the battle, Lovat and his son and ranald galda were dead. In some stories of Ranald's death, it is suggested that he was killed by a father of a man he was fighting, or he was murdered by a sergeant dressing his wounds after the battle, or the more likely story that he was killed by a clansman. Now, I'm going to butcher this name. MacGunel Ruick. Most sources claim that only 5 Frasers survived out of the 300 soldiers, and only 8 MacDonalds of the 500 survived as well. But these historical accounts vary, and it is possible that more survived. What is clear though is that it was almost total annihilation for the Frasers. In the end, the MacDonalds won, and John Moidart's claim was secured. Lovat and his son were later buried at Beauty Priory. For the most part, The Earl of Huntly focused his attention in other parts of Scotland thereafter, as a result of which John MacDonald, Cameron of Lochiel, and the chiefs of Glengarry, Keppoch and Glencoe spent April 1545 sacking and destroying the regions near Urquhart Castle. Parliament did try to summon John to answer for accusation of treason several times, but he just ignored them, based. When I saw this battle, I was utterly starstruck due to the high casualty rate, and I just knew I needed to make a video on it. But I would like to mention that this video was really difficult to research due to the fact that all the sources are really limited and a lot of it is conflicting. So just take it with a grain of salt, and that's about it. See ya.